Hello Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus, and welcome to your reading. So Capricorn, today we're going to go over your energy as well as your person's energy. We're going to see how the both of you are currently viewing this relationship and how you guys feel about it, and what actions you guys plan on taking each other's direction and are moving forward. So with all that being said, Capricorn, let's get started. How does Capricorn currently view this relationship? All right, so we do have the Eight of Cups, we do have the Four of Pentacles, as well as the Wheel of Fortune. So in regards to how you're currently viewing this relationship, with the Four of Pentacles to the Eight of Cups, this to me kind of feels like the Two of Wands is like the best way that I could describe that energy. Two of Wands basically represents somebody who doesn't necessarily know whether to go left or to go right. It's like you need to essentially make a decision about something in particular, and you want to make sure that you don't necessarily make a mistake, but it kind of looks like, you know, due to you not necessarily knowing like whether to go left or to go right, it kind of has you currently at the moment at a standstill. You just don't want to make a mistake, but I feel like it does have a lot to do with a particular person and a particular connection. That is either currently in your life or trying to make its way back into your life. Because I am definitely getting, for some of you, this does have a lot to do with somebody who's currently in your life, but it could have a lot to do with somebody who's trying to make their way back into your life. So a lot of you, where you're dealing with somebody who's trying to make their way back into your life, you're not entirely sure if you should take this person back, because you don't know if things are going to change or improve between the two of you or not. As far as like this person currently being in your life, something is obviously causing you to be at this complete understand still, and very, very indecisive, you know, about them. So obviously we have to look into your energy a little bit more just to kind of see what's going on, so that way I have a rough idea of what's going on. Before we do all of that, let's look at this person and see how they're currently viewing their relationship with you. How does this person currently view this relationship? Okay. So we have the, alrighty then, we have the Eight of Wands, we have the Eight of Swords, and then we also have the Magician. Regardless if this is somebody that you're currently dealing with now, or this is somebody who's trying to make their way back into your life all over again, you are dealing with somebody who doesn't really know what it is that they want fully, is basically what I'm getting. I think that to a certain extent they know what they want, but I wouldn't go as far as to say that this person fully knows like what they want. Because there's a part of them that wants to pursue a life with you, a relationship with you, and there's that other part of them that's unsure if they're honestly ready for all of that. So if you're currently connecting with this person now, more than likely you guys are just, you know, simply just dating one another, getting to know one another, things of that nature. But as far as taking things a step further is concerned, they're unsure if they want to do all of that, because they don't even know if they're ready for all of that. If this is somebody who's trying to make their way back into your life all over again, the same message applies. You're dealing with somebody who wants you in their life, but as far as like stepping up to the plate and, you know, being the man that they need you to, being the man that you need them to be, or the woman that you need them to essentially be, and, you know, taking things a step further within this dynamic between the two of you is concerned, it kind of looks like they're unsure when it comes down to that, you know, on whether or not they're actually ready to be the person you need them to be, or, you know, ready to take things a step further between the two of you. It's pretty evident to me that they want you in their life, but as far as like taking things a step further is concerned, they're not entirely sure if they're ready for all of that. So, okay, let's keep going. How does, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, in regards to how you're currently feeling, you know, you're dealing with somebody who has a tendency of like sending you mixed signals. It's like one minute they're making it seem like they really do want you in a life with you, and the next minute it's like they're doing things that cause you to essentially think, believe, and feel like they're actually not, you know, serious about you or this dynamic that they share with you, or they're serious about taking things a step further with you, you know, things of that nature. And I feel like it's really confusing you, because on one hand, it's like they're making it seem like they really do want you, and on the next hand, it's like they're kind of making it seem like they're not ready for all of that, or that they don't essentially want you by their actions and their behavior and things of that nature. Okay. Tell me more about the Four of Pentacles to the Eight of Cups. For those of you who are currently dealing with this person, because I'm getting two different messages here. Oh, I see. For those of you who are currently dealing with this person currently at the moment, It's like you don't know if you should just continue to see this entire dynamic through and see if things do progress and get serious here between the two of you, or if you should just simply walk away now and not bother with the situation anymore, or wait on this person to become the man of your dreams or the woman of your dreams, or take you in this dynamic that they share with you seriously. We need to look obviously a little bit more into this person, but just based off of what it is that I'm seeing here, you're dealing with somebody who it, it's, I mean, the best way that I could describe it, it's like there's 50% of this person that wants to pursue, you know, life with you, and there's that other 50% that they're just like, I don't know if I'm ready for all of that. You know what I mean? Like, um, okay, let's keep going. How does this person currently feel? We have the Sun, we do have the Devil, and then we also have the Two of Cups. Okay, so I want to look at the Devil, because with the Eight of Swords to the Devil coming out here, I tend to kind of like link these two cards together. Yeah, because every time I see the Eight of Swords, the Devil typically comes out, vice versa. So I tend to link these two cards together. But this could definitely represent somebody feeling restricted. So something's clearly stopping this person from pursuing you and a life with you. It's not that they don't want a life with you, because they definitely do, and it's showing up in their energy twice. We see it here, and then we see it here. So you are dealing with somebody who does have emotions for you. You are dealing with somebody who would love to pursue and establish a life with you, but something's definitely holding this person back, and it keeps showing up time and time again. I do feel like it has a lot to do with them essentially feeling like they're not ready, but it could have a lot to do with something else. That's definitely a possibility. So let's just double check and see what's going on. Tell me more about the Devil. Okay. We have the Four of Cups. We do have the Four of Wands. We also have the Six of Wands. And then we also have the Six of Swords out here. Okay. So I am definitely getting one storyline strongly, but I do want to clarify the Four of Cups just to see if something else comes out here. But what I am definitely getting primarily in regards to like what's holding this person back has a lot to do with the fact that and this is just them going based off of like their history, you know, with other people. So just kind of keep that in mind. But, you know, as far as like their history with other people is concerned, things start off good, things start off great, and then things eventually go south and get ugly. And their whole thing is that they just don't want to continue to put themselves in that predicament to have like an awesome relationship with someone, get close to someone, invest all that they have to give into that someone, for it to just blow up in their face and go south at the end of the day. That's something that this person definitely wants to essentially avoid, and it's something that this person notices tends to essentially happen in their life. They get involved with someone, and they invest all that they have to give into that someone, and then eventually it blows up in their face and it goes south and they're back at square one. You know, so that's just their whole thing, is that they just kind of feel like when it comes down to, my apologies, when it comes down to like being in a relationship with someone, they just kind of feel like it's only a matter of time before things go south. So what's the point of investing all that you have to give into a person when that person is going to eventually abandon you or leave you or disappoint you, or the relationship in itself is eventually going to go south? So what's the point? They just don't see the point in it, is basically what I'm getting. Okay, let's look at the Four of Cups. We have the Page of Swords. We do have the Five of Wands, and then we also have the Fool out here. Yeah, that's kind of what it really boils down to, at least for this person anyways. They just kind of feel like relationships, as far as like how they're looking at relationships is concerned, they just kind of view it to be something that's just completely and utterly pointless. You know, what is the point of investing all that you have to give into a person for, in the end, for it to essentially go south, you know, a year from now or 5 years from now or 10 years from now? Like, what's the point of doing that? That makes no sense to them. Logically speaking, it just simply doesn't make sense to them. So that's kind of telling me whatever it is that you guys currently have with one another, it's something that they want to continue to have in their life, primarily because it doesn't require this person to change too much of their life, and it doesn't require them to invest all that they essentially have to give. In other words, this person is basically giving you a portion of themselves to you in this dynamic that they share with you, and the portion that they are giving themselves to you in this dynamic that they share with you, is something that they essentially feel comfortable with essentially giving you in this dynamic that they share with you. But as far as going all in when it comes down to you in this dynamic that they share with you, that's where they kind of draw the line. It's not something that they essentially feel comfortable with, because again, in their head they think, well, what's the point? It's only a matter of time before this like blows up, you know what I mean, in my face. So like, why am I gonna give Capricorn or anybody at that my all when it's eventually gonna go south? Like, what the fuck is the point? Like, that's how they look at it. They look at every, you know, romantic relationship as something that's eventually gonna come to an end. So what's the point, you know, of investing all that you have to give? And I guess I can kind of see where this person's coming from to a certain extent, I guess. Because everything that starts eventually has to come to an end. This is true. You know, nothing in this life lasts forever, which is true. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't have a point. I mean, I understand where they're coming from. I mean, I get it. Yes, I guess. I understand where this person's coming from and why they refuse to give you and this dynamic that they share with you their all, because it's going to eventually come to an end. And it's true, it is going to eventually come to an end in some way, shape, or form, because everything has to come to an end at some point. But because this person knows that everything in this life eventually has to come to an end, it's like they rather play it smart, you know what I mean? And not go all out, right? When it comes down to you in this dynamic that they share with you. But this is something that applies to everybody that they come into like contact with, that they're really interested in a romantic way. It's not just they're just treating you this way because it's you. No, 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 no. Like, this is something that I feel like this person has been doing with people prior to you. And if it doesn't work out between the two of you, it's going to be something that they're going to continue to do with people after you. So the only way that I really see things progressing and improving between the two of you is if they kind of snap out of this mentality that they essentially have. That's the only way, to be completely honest. And if they don't, I mean, I don't necessarily feel like you're going to be too happy. You know what I mean? When it comes down to your relationship with this person, I mean, you're already not happy. So then there's that. But what actions will Capricorn take towards this person or moving forward? We have the Judgment card. We have the Ace of Pentacles. And then we also have the Hangman. Okay, so with the Ace of Pentacles coming out here, the Ace of Pentacles is attached to Ten of Pentacles, which speaks of a loving and healthy relationship between two people, full of abundance, stability, all of that good stuff. It's like the epitome of you giving this person, your relationship with this person, your all, and then them doing the exact same thing in return, and the two of you coming together and binding yourselves to one another and building toward the life of one another. That is basically what you're looking for. Someone that you can come together with, give your all to, and that person give their all to you, and you guys go off and build and establish a life with one another. But you're dealing with somebody who doesn't feel comfortable to do that. Like, this is that type of person that's placing a lot of restrictions upon themselves, because in their head everything, you know, is eventually going to come to an end. So what is the point? You know what I mean? And I guess in a way I understand, in a way, this person's perspective on things. I mean, I get it. And it's not that they're lying, because it is true. You know, this relationship at some point, it will definitely come to an end in some way, shape, or form. I mean, this could definitely represent the person that you end up growing old with and death separates the both of you. Or maybe a really big argument, you know, separates the both of you. Or whatever, you know, I mean, like something's gonna eventually separate the both of you at some point in time, which is true. I'm not gonna sit here and say that they're lying, because they do have I guess a valid point, but I'm not here to argue with this person about this person's perspective. I get where they're coming from, but I also get where you're coming from too. It's like, in order for you to come together with someone and build towards a life with someone, you know, it does kind of require that someone that you're, you know, deciding to go off and build with to be all in when it comes down to you. And the fact that they don't feel comfortable enough to do so, because eventually this dynamic between the two of you, it is going to come to an end in some way, shape, or form. They don't want to do all that. So, and you know what? It's like this person, they kind of come off to me as somebody who's very fixed in their ways. Like, they're very, very fixed in their ways. I am definitely getting that. This person could be an Aquarius, possibly a Scorpio, maybe even a Leo, or a Taurus. Doesn't necessarily have to be the case, but they're very fixed in their ways. Yeah, they're very fixed in their ways. They just want to play it safe. You know what I mean? Like, that's their whole MO, is that they just want to play it safe. You know, we have the Lovers, we do have the Knight of Wands, and then we also have the Justice card out here at the bottom of the deck. We do have the King of Pentacles, we got the Six of Cups to the Five of Pentacles, and then we also have the Ten of Swords to the Nine of Swords. You know, I do feel like this has a lot to do with, like, you know, past relationships that they've been in. You know, and it's like, everything starts off good, everything starts off great, you know what I mean? And then it eventually goes south, and they're left to, you know, pick up the fucking pieces, and they're tired of going through that freaking cycle with people. Like, they're tired of sacrificing this, that, and the third for a person for them to get the shitty end of the stick in the end. Like, they're tired of going through that, you know what I mean? Like, they don't want to go through that anymore. I don't know. I just, I don't know. Like I said, they're very fixed in their ways, and it's like, their perspective on things, it's not that they're wrong, because they're not wrong. I mean, they have a valid point, you know what I mean? Like, everything that starts eventually has to come to an end, in some way, shape, or form. You know, every relationship in this life has to eventually come to an end in some way, shape, or fucking form. Like, it has to. Like, it's not going to last forever, you know what I mean? Like, at some point, yes, it does have to come to an end. It definitely does. But man, to, like, I don't know, man. I mean, the only thing that I can't argue with them on their perspective, because it's true, but I also get where you're coming from. You know what I mean? Like, you just want to give this dynamic, and them your all, and you just want them to do the same thing in return. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want this person to have one foot in, one foot out. You know what I mean? When it comes down to you, you want this person to be all in when it comes down to you. And I get that, you know, because in order to build and establish a life with someone, it requires somebody to be all in when it comes down to you, just like you're all in when it comes down to them. But it's like, you're dealing with somebody who is very, very big on living their life constantly playing it safe. And don't get me wrong, like, I feel like this person has taken chances and risks before. I am getting that they have. And it hasn't worked out in their favor. And I get why they, you know, from that point on, made that choice to just simply play it safe and not invest all that you have to give into a person, because for what? It's going to come to an end at some point in some way, shape, or form, which I get it. It is very, very true. But I don't know. Like, I mean, not to say that there's not people out there that are like them, that think the same way that they think. But you're just not one of those people. Like, this is that type of person that, you know, would love to, you know, pursue, you know, life with you while living in two separate houses. You know what I mean? Like, that's like their whole mindset. Like, let's not get a place together, because, you know, if it goes left, you know what I mean? I don't want to deal with that shit. So you live over there, I'm gonna live over here. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm sure that there are people out there that are like that. I only know personally one couple that's like that do that, where they live in two separate houses and stuff like that. But I only know one couple that's like that. Every other couple that I know, like, they live together. You know what I mean? They live together. They have family together. You know what I mean? They're all in when it comes down to one another. But even that one couple that I know, it just, even then, like, that I know that that is something that's very challenging and difficult for their relationship, living in two separate, like, you know, houses and stuff like that. But they make it work some way, shape, or form. And I think that that's great that they're able to make it work. You know what I mean? Even though it creates some challenges, you know, for the both of them, and possibly even problems. But other than that, like, they make it work somehow, some way. But that type of lifestyle is just not for everybody. You know what I mean? That type of dynamic is just not for everybody. And I feel like this person needs somebody like that, who's going to be okay with, you know, being in a relationship, but just living in two separate houses and not investing all that they have to give, you know what I mean, into one another, I guess. Like, they would have to just find somebody like that. And I just don't believe that you're one of those people. So in regards to, you know, whether or not you should go left, or if you should go right, I mean, here's the thing, and I'm just going to be real with you, because this is like a BFF moment here. I don't think that this person's a good fit for you. Therefore, I think you should walk away from this relationship. And if you do, I think that you would be making the right decision. And I also think that you would be aligning, you know, yourself to somebody who wants the exact same things that you essentially want and doesn't have a problem with basically giving you and this dynamic that they share with you your all, because it appears to me that you don't have that problem in giving a person or relationship your all. But see, here's the thing, and this is like a between you and I think that you know what you should do when it comes onto this person. I just think that it's very hard for you to do it, primarily because you're very attached to what you want with this person. So, like, even though deep down inside, dude, it's like, you know, you should walk away from this relationship, just based off of everything that you know about this person thus far and the way that things have been playing out between the two of you thus far. Like, you know, deep down inside, this doesn't really align to what you truly want and desire. And you know, deep down inside, this really ain't for you. But because you're so attached to what you want with this person, it could very well be preventing you, you know, from getting up and actually walking away and doing what's, you know, best, you know, in this entire situation, because you're so attached to what you want with this person. You know what I mean? So you might find yourself going down the rabbit hole of trying to change this person's mind. You might go down this rabbit hole of constantly trying to convince this person that the way that they're choosing to go about this relationship is just not right and it's just not good and blah, blah, blah. Like, in hopes that it'll eventually change this person's mind. But I got to be honest, your person's very fixed in their ways. Like, they're just very, very fixed in their ways. Like, this is what I want. This is how I want to go about it. And that's just that. And it's either you follow in line or you don't. Like, that's the type of mentality that this person kind of has. And they expect the people that are essentially dealing with them to either fall in line or move out the way. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you could go down this rabbit hole of trying to convince this person into changing their mind and, you know, taking you and the dynamic that they share with you seriously. I mean, you could go down that rabbit hole, but it would be a complete and utter waste of time because they're very fixed in their ways. You know what I mean? They're just very fixed in their ways. They just are. They just are. There's that type of person, when they make their mind up about something, there is no changing that. Like, you have a better chance at changing the tires on a moving vehicle than this person's mind, because they're so fixed in their ways. And when they make their mind up about something, there is no changing that unless they change it. The only way that I see this improving is if this person, you know, wakes up one day and, you know, kind of realizes, you know what, me constantly playing it safe, man, it's just, I need to stop doing that. Because yes, I get what they're saying. It's like everything has to eventually come to an end. I understand that, but it's like, who's to say, you know what I mean, that, you know, yeah, who's to say that you guys are not going to grow old together? You know what I mean? And what separates the two of you guys is death. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that this person just doesn't want to be put in that predicament where there's like a romantic situation in their life that's blowing up in their face again. You know what I mean? And I get that. And the only thing that I can say to that is, you know, if this person is going to continue to allow their other failed marriages and relationships to get the best of them to the point where they don't even really want to, you know, be all in when it comes down to a person, I think, you know, maybe they should find somebody who has the same mentality as they do, or just stay single, because it's impossible to build and establish a life with this individual having the mentality that they have. Like, they just need to find somebody who's down to play it just as safe as they are. You know what I mean? And I can see how that could work. That could definitely work out, but I just don't see this working out. Like, in your favor with this particular person is basically what I'm getting. Like, if you're okay with, like, them not taking this relationship as seriously as you want them to, then all right, cool. But it's like, if you want them to take this relationship seriously and you want more out of them and this dynamic that you share with them, but that's the thing, is that I don't even feel like a conversation is going to even change anything because they're so fixed in their ways. I just don't. It's one of those things, dude, where it's like what you see is what you get. And if you don't like what you're receiving and are getting, there is no amount of talking or convincing that's going to change this individual, let alone their mind. You know what I mean? So my thing is, dude, is that do I see you deciding in the end to just walk away from this person? No, I don't. I think that eventually you'll reach that point. I don't see you doing that right now because you're too attached to what you want with this person, what you can see yourself having with this person. So a lot of you think, believe, and feel like, well, I could change this person's mind. I can convince this person. I could get this person to see things from my perspective, and the way that they're going about it, it's just not right. And I can get them to see that. I mean, you could go down that rabbit hole, but I just don't believe it's going to change anything at all in this particular situation, let alone their mind. So it's just something to kind of like, I guess, take into consideration, when it comes down to how you're choosing to proceed forward. All right. So that's what I have for you. Hopefully the reading helped. Hopefully it resonated. And I will see you guys in your next reading.